Hello, everybody. I'm Evan Kamikow, and welcome to the Toss-Up. Now that 2020 is over, it's time for all college and professional sports to come back, and this is the place to be. Each week, join myself and an expert-line panel dissect the latest sports news from some of the nation's most elite college programs here in Bloomington to the biggest stadiums and stages around the world. Stick around because we have a great show for you coming up on the Toss-Up. Although we talked about basketball 2 weeks ago before the men's and women's NCAA tournaments began, tonight we're bringing back our basketball reporters to fill everyone in at home on a crazy last 2 weeks. With the biggest news coming out of IU men's basketball as the Hoosiers have found their new coach in Mike Woodson. However, we'll get into Mike Woodson 101, Indiana men's basketball, and Final Four predictions later in the show. To start, we are talking about the best basketball program in town right now, the IU women's basketball team. They had an incredible run defeating VCU, Belmont, and NC State en route to the first ever Elite Eight appearance in an NCAA women's tournament before getting knocked out by Arizona. Terry Moore and her squad's season was one of, if not the best seasons in program history. And this is only the beginning for the women's team. Joining me now to break down IU's historic postseason run and the future of IU women's basketball is our very own IUSTV women's basketball reporters, Will Trubshaw and Andrew Fish. Guys, long time, no see.
No kidding. We miss you, Evan.
Glad to hear that you guys miss me. I miss you guys too, but enough about missing each other. Let's jump into basketball. IU had an incredible tournament run. They defeated VCU in the first round, Belmont in the second round, and NC State in the Sweet 16. Andrew, we'll start with you. What does that run mean for the team? What did that run show you?
Well, I think for starters, every team that's on the up-and-coming needs that statement win. And with that NC State victory, it felt like it was IU telling the rest of the country, we've arrived. We are now officially a contender. You now need to take Indiana women's basketball seriously because they're there for the future, they're there now, and they're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I pretty much concur with that statement. I mean, that's one of those wins that you kind of dream about. You know, you could say IU had a statement win even last season when they beat South Carolina early on in the season, but this was the tournament. This was March Madness, and this was an NC State team that was coming in feeling pretty good about themselves, as well as IU, and IU just shut them down defensively. It was a close game at the end, but that was really only because of foul trouble. IU, for the most part, they had that game on lock, and they showed what this program's about now. You know, they show how far this team has come from year one under Terry Moore into year 7.
Now let's talk about the game that I think is the most important game. It's the biggest game. You know, on Monday night, the IU women's team lost to Arizona. Ari McDonald had 33 of 66 points. Will, what was the biggest difference between IU and Arizona in that game?
Well, I mean, all you got to do is look at the box score. It was the three-point shooting. IU 0 for 9. Arizona 9 of 19. When a team makes as many three-pointers as you shot, you're going to be in trouble as is. I mean, especially these two teams were so evenly matched defensively. They're really very similar styles. It's defense first for both these programs. But the difference was Arizona could fill it up from outside and just in general. I mean, look at Ari McDonald too. That was the difference maker. IU just couldn't hit shots, and sometimes you're going to have nights like that. But it was kind of a bad time to have it in the Elite Eight.
Andrew, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I feel like Indiana just missed out on some of their extra players, secondary options that game. It was all Grace Berger, Mackenzie Holmes, and Allie Patberg, and none of the other players really contributed. And it felt like when Arizona needed a big shot, they hit it. When Indiana was starting to get close or possibly take the lead, they failed to hit those big shots. A ton of credit to Arizona. They were ready to go, but it just felt like Indiana wasn't quite there yet.
Yeah, and, you know, we were sitting down. I was watching with Mike Moskalik and Jackson Kinney, two of our producers, and we were watching at Buffalo Louise. It was so much fun, but it was just such a bummer seeing that we were close. Yes, the score was 63-55, something around there, and Indiana was close the whole game. The issue is you guys both hit the nail on the head perfectly. You're not going to win if you're 0 for 9 from the line. We talk about it with the men's program, and In the women's, unfortunately, this week it's the same thing. If you're not going to make shots and you're giving up one player 33 points, it's unfortunate, but you're not going to win the game.
Yeah, and I'd add in too, it kind of mirrored the other losses that Indiana had. You look back to the Michigan State loss in the tournament, the only scoring was done by Grace Berger and Mackenzie Holmes. No one else really stepped up on offense, and they struggled from outside and general. The defense is always there. Their defense first team, that never goes away. But the inconsistency on offense was the thing that really sunk IU, I would say, in all 6 of their losses this year.
Yeah, there was also a star player that stepped up in each of those losses as well and really filled it up. When you played Michigan State in the Big Ten tournament, Nia Clouden couldn't miss, and then you head into the NCAA tournament, and obviously Ari McDonald couldn't miss for Arizona. So it just felt like once one player got going, they were really tough to stop, and Indiana offense wasn't quite to the caliber yet.
And although it was a disappointing finish, how proud was Coach Terry Morin of the team just in the run itself?
Well, I mean, she has to be extremely proud with not only herself, who's built this incredible program that is going absolutely nowhere but up every single season, but so excited for her players. I mean, just to see the growth and actually get to finally get some product out there with their hard work and see some results that they put in and have it pay off. She has to be so excited for each and every one of them, and they've earned every bit of respect that they've gotten.
Yeah, I mean, for Terry Morin, she had said when she came into this program that the goal was to be a national championship contender, to be in Final Fours. And, it's finally starting to come to fruition. I think she's probably equal parts satisfied and very happy with her team, proud of her team. But also, I think she realizes there's work to be done, too. I mean, this is a team that there's still kinks to be worked out. They can still get better even after you made an Elite Eight. I think they're going to have the chance to do that, too, considering they're going to return their starting 5 from this year for next year with Allie Patberg coming back for his 7th year. I think there is a legitimate chance that this team can repeat this run, if not go even further.
Yeah, and I think it's incredible that you just mentioned it. Allie Patberg's coming back. Terry Morin also got a contract extension earlier today. She's now signed through, I believe, 2027, which is something so exciting for the future of IU basketball, or IU women's basketball. So, Andrew, what is the future, the contract extension? What does this all mean for going into the future?
Well, it just solidifies things for this program. You can go to these young women's houses to talk to their parents and know that Coach Morin is going to be with Indiana for a long time. She's building something special. You see it every single year. These players get better and better, and she was rewarded, definitely deserved every bit of this contract extension. She's now the highest paid coach in the Big Ten, and she's clearly shown her team advanced the furthest out of any Big Ten team this season. So she's clearly earned it, and it just shows that IU athletics is completely backing what Terry Morin's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a good sign too when you have the new athletic director Scott Dolson giving you his full blessing with this contract extension all the way through 2027. It tacks on, I believe, 4 more years to her initial contract that would have expired after the 2022-23 season. So, like Andrew said, it's huge for recruiting purposes, that security. But I think it's just huge, too, for the athletic department to know that, hey, we've got a program on the rise. And Scott Dolson said as much as well. He's really happy with this program. He said it's the most excited he's been about women's basketball in the 30-plus years he's been around IU athletics.
Yeah, and you talk about it. When a team makes an Elite Eight run, you got to assume that the coaches are going to be back. Now all 5 starters are going to be back, too. There is only up from here to go as well. Yeah, could it all be up? Not necessarily, but, if anything can show from this year to next year, it's improvement, and we're really excited about that. So let's give out some postseason awards. Will, we'll start with you. Who is your IU season MVP?
I think I've got to go with Mackenzie Holmes. I mean, she was the leading scorer for the team this year, one of the leading scorers in the Big Ten, an honorable mention All-American. I could keep going on with the accolades, one of the best shot blockers in the country. But, I mean, the fact is she is just such a talented basketball player. You could see it coming in freshman year, how good she was going to be, and she took that quantum leap into this year. I mean, she was the centerpiece of this team, like we talked about. She was the one player you could consistently count on every night to get you those points and to keep IU afloat on offense. And she more than did her part on defense.
Yeah, for me, I think it's got to be Grace Berger, all Big Ten first team as well as Mackenzie Holmes. But she was the one that impacted the game in so many different ways. She had 2 triple-doubles this season. She can obviously rebound, assist, and she can score the ball as good as anybody in the country. It felt like when Indiana needed a big shot, they knew exactly who to go to, and that was number 34, Grace Berger. All season long, I mean, she is the best mid-range shooter I think I may have ever seen, men's or women's. She does not miss from the mid-range, and that has made her into one of the best players in the country and somebody that I am definitely looking out for to win Big Ten Player of the Year next year.
And you can see, her jump shots against Arizona were so pure, and it kept them in the game. The final award we'll give out, IU season most improved player. Andrew, who we're going to start with you.
Well, I'll take Will's pick for best player, and that's Mackenzie Holmes. She took a huge leap this season. Her post footwork has been fantastic. She's now adding a mid-range jumper, which is going to make her even more lethal. She became one of the best defensive players in the country as well. And only improvement from here as she consistently works on that jumper. We saw it every single game on ESPN. They were showing her out there in the snow in Maine working all summer long. That's the kind of work ethic that she has, and it's really shown off. And she had a huge step up from her freshman year to her sophomore year.
Totally. So for me, kind of an interesting pick, but I'm going to go with Nicole Cardano-Hillary. Obviously, she was a very polished player in her career at George Mason. But when she came to IU and she transferred, those first few games, they were a little rough. It certainly wasn't her best performance, but she really came along as the season went on. I mean, she became another linchpin to this IU offense. I mean, she really was a key piece, and she was just a hound on defense. I mean, it was fun watching her play and guard some of those point guards throughout the tournament. She did such a good job shutting them down, and I think she proved her worth to this team. And again, she'll be back next year too. So,
which is definitely something fun to watch out for. Guys, thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you for all you've done for IUSTV. Andrew, especially you, since you'll be graduating.
Appreciate it.
We cannot thank you enough for all the coverage you've given us over the last 4 years. Will, we will definitely be seeing you a lot in the fall. Guys, thanks for being here. Coming up after the break, Callie Metzger joins the show to give you a 101 lesson on new IU men's basketball head coach Mike Woodson. Then Caleb Coffman and Jordan Gould join the show to discuss all things Indiana men's basketball and the Final Four. Stay tuned because we'll be right back. Now joining the show to talk Mike Woodson 101 is IUSTV's own Callie Metzger. Callie, the court's yours.
Thanks, Evan. Goodbye, Archie Miller. Hello, Mike Woodson. If you don't know already, you should. Indiana introduced Woodson as the 30th head coach in men's basketball history last week. Hoosier fans could not be more excited for the future of the men's basketball program. Now let's get to know our very own Mike Woodson a little bit more. To start, Cream and Crimson isn't an unfamiliar pairing for the new head coach, as Woodson is in fact a former Hoosier All-American and Indianapolis native. He will return to Bloomington with the familiar feeling of Hoosier hysteria, as well as many accolades on his resume. Woodson was the 1980 Big Ten Player of the Year and NABC All-American his senior year in leading the Hoosiers to a conference title and a key component in the NCAA Tournament's Sweet 16. After IU, Woodson played in the NBA for 11 seasons, beginning in 1980, and he served as a coach in the league beginning in 1996 for 7 NBA franchises, including 9 years combined as a head coach with the Atlanta Hawks and New York Knicks. He was currently serving as the assistant coach for the Knicks before committing his expertise here at IU. Woodson is used to winning games, which is music to Hoosier fans' ears. He's compiled a record of 327 wins in his coaching career, along with a total of 20 playoff wins in his time with the NBA. But even more impressive, when it comes to the number of games coached, Woodson might be higher than anyone in IU history. To give you an inside look of how he plans to run his new team with titles, an NBA-style offense will be implemented that will feature lots of three-point shooting and pick-and-roll options. He also plans to recruit new players that can shoot and share the ball. As for defense, Woodson has commented that he would like to incorporate knowledge he's garnered from playing in the pros. Less zone defense and more focus defending the 3 and 4 positions on the court. If all of that information doesn't make you even more excited for IU basketball to begin, then I don't know what will. Scott Dolson, you did good. Evan, back to you.
Thanks, Callie. Now here to talk the recent hiring of Mike Woodson, Indiana's next men's basketball head coach, the future of IU basketball, and make some Final Four predictions is IDS men's basketball reporter Caleb Coffman and IUSTV reporter and toss-up producer Jordan Gould. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And hey, it's good to talk about a filled position now with the IU men's basketball coach.
A filled position, exactly. Jordan, we'll start with you. What is your thoughts on new head coach Mike Woodson?
Well, he's not Brad Stevens. He's not Chris Beard. The list goes on. Not John Beilein. But he's a former IU guy. And I think from that perspective, it could be a nice start and a fresh start for the program. I mean, we saw how it's been working with Juwan Howard at Michigan. Maybe Indiana liked the model there and wanted to turn to something with Mike Woodson. And, you know, we were talking before. He talks in third person. I mean, who doesn't love a coach that, you know, talks to themselves? Mike Woodson is the guy for this job. So I love it. It's worth a shot, right? I mean, how much worse can it get than, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I mean, we were at a low point, and now Mike Woodson has a tall task in front of him to bring back these guys in the transfer portal and recruit at the college level.
Caleb?
When you look at it, you kind of look two ways. One, it's a huge flop on IU on the part that they just got a reality check of where the program is. Mike Woodson is nowhere near Brad Stevens, even though those people were delusional who were like, oh, Brad Stevens is going to lead the NBA. Yeah, that was never going to happen. Chris Beard, I thought maybe they could swing if they really want to, but now he goes to Texas. He sees that job open up, probably says, nah, going to pass. Drew at Baylor, didn't see him coming either.
Chris Holtman, even? I mean,
Holtman, I can't believe that came out that IU even looked at him. That's like, he wasn't leaving Ohio State. But if you're looking at an X's and O's coach, Woodson fits everything Dolson talked about, what he wanted. He wanted a modern coach that three-point shooting, fast-paced, takes care of the ball. Woodson checks all those. On defense, you know the guy's a little old when he gets credited for being a person that's one of the first people to switch on every screen, go 2 through 5 pretty much. So he fits all those marks, but it kind of depends where your mindset was coming into the hiring process. If you wanted that superstar guy, you're really disappointed. If you just wanted a good, slightly above average NBA coach, you'll be happy.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about hiring Mike Woodson is, was I overly thrilled at first? No, I didn't know a lot about Mike Woodson. I didn't really do my background research, but really looking into him and seeing he's had success with the Knicks and Hawks, two, you know, organizations in the NBA who haven't really been anything in the last 20 years or done anything really decent and, you know, as of playoff runs. But coming in, I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt, root for him. Why would we ever root against the guy we hired? You know, what's the worst that happens? He just ends up, you know, being a flop like a lot of people are saying he's going to be. Do I think he will be? No, I think he's going to do a really good job. And hopefully he keeps a lot of the guys on the team.
And he's going to get a lot of the old-timers being a former Bob Knight guy. I mean, you're connecting the old and the new, and that's the kind of the gap that Mike Woodson wants to bridge together. And that's what he said in his press conference.
Yeah, just about to mention that. He really emphasized the whole bringing players back. He mentioned when Knight at tenure at IU, he would bring players back and have a banquet at the beginning of every season, just so the current players knew the past, knew the tradition, and really felt what IU was, and he wants to bring that back so they can see it and be like, hey, we can put banners on the walls too. We can add to the storied tradition and kind of bring that Knight era into the modern era of not being pack line or pack the middle defense, but instead spread it out, fast-paced, low turnovers. I'll be honest, when he got hired, I was immediately thinking if I knew going in I was either one more year of Archie Miller or Mike Woodson, I might have kept Archie Miller, to be honest. I think Archie got a little bit of a short end of the stick going through it. We don't have to go all the way into why, but he improved year over year besides this past one for the most part. This past one was a big flop, but he faced a lot of challenges, a lot of injuries, a lot of other situations that, tough luck, you got to deal with it, but Mike Woodson's not the most energetic and happy hire.
So last bit on Archie, no one could shoot under Archie Miller, you know? So Mike, it's like everyone that came in forgot how to shoot the basketball. I mean, how many air balls did Christian Lander have this season? I mean, that's a pinpoint, but it was a lot.
Definitely a lot, but that's something hopefully Mike Woodson's going to come in and fix. So, you know, enough with IU basketball. I'm sure everyone at home has talked about it a million times, and we're sure not to be done talking about it. Let's talk about some Final Four. Who are your predictions for your two championship teams? Caleb, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go Baylor and Gonzaga. I know it's boring, But those two teams are so much better than everyone else in the Final Four. UCLA, I still don't know how they got there. Blows my mind. I don't even know how they competed with Michigan. And then Gonzaga is just so good. Baylor, they don't turn the ball over. They're athletic. I can't wait for that championship game.
You know, UCLA has had a nice run, and the Pac-12 really represented, but it's got to be Gonzaga on that side of the Final Four, and then on the other. I mean, I think Gonzaga. One more point is just that they are so. Just move the ball so well, and it's fun to watch them. I mean, the passing, they can shoot, they make open shots. And then on the other side, you have Baylor and Houston. And Houston's a very defensive team, but it's been working. Baylor has the star studs, and they've been consistent in the Big 12 all season. So I'll go Gonzaga, Baylor as well. And
I really think at this point it's really hard not to go with Gonzaga Baylor. They're the two best teams right now. They've always been the two best teams in the country. Yeah. So as of that, I'm going to go Gonzaga Baylor too. We'll go 15 seconds. Jordan, we'll start with you. Who's your national champion for 2021?
Gonzaga, and it's got to be the handlebar mustache and Drew Timme taking the crown. I mean, Jalen Suggs probably gone to the NBA. Corey Kispert. They got shooters. They're so talented, and Gonzaga gets, I believe, their first title in program history.
Sorry to be boring. I'm also going Gonzaga. Mark Few, possibly a top 3 coach. Max, I'll give him his top 5, like as bad as you can rank him. Outstanding coach, needs all the credit he gets. 2 national championship appearances now, I believe, if he makes it. So great time.
You think IU gave Mark Few a call?
I'm sure. I hope they did.
I'm sure he saw.
Clearly, they were calling everybody.
I'm sure he saw Indiana University and let it go to voicemail.
Probably. I'm going to go with Gonzaga to round out the show. I think that they're going to go in. We've seen it this entire season. They've just been dominant, and I think they're going to be dominant through the Final Four and championship game. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me in the little time that we had. That's going to do it for the show this week. Be sure to continue the discussion on our Instagram page at IUSTV Sports and our Twitter page at IUSTV Sports. We are always looking for ways to improve the show, so please feel free to ask any questions you might have or suggestions for future episodes. Everyone stay safe. Say thank you for watching at home, and as always, toss it up, find out if we catch it, and we'll see you next week.